Thank you much. Thank you, Stefan, Joe, and Ted for having me back again this year. I've really enjoyed participating in the course. It's great to be back in person. So I'm kind of the bookend to this talk. I'm kind of on the other end of this, so you might notice that I'm probably younger than the rest of the members on this panel. Sorry,
Still got hair,
yeah, exactly. I was going to say that, but I thought that might be rude. But looking out, I see a lot of other faces that are similar to my own, folks that are probably in their first 10 years of practice, 5 years of practice, lots of fellows, probably some residents out there too. So this kind of goes along with why I prefer to be employed by the hospital. So from a disclosure standpoint, nothing financially other than I am an employee of Carillion Clinic. This guy you saw earlier, Joe Moskow, he is my boss. So I keep promising him this coffee cup, and I'm going to get it someday. But so I guess that does provide some conflict of interest. But I like to look at it as a spectrum of employment. It's not private practice versus hospital employed. It's not a dichotomous system. So you have this spectrum that goes between it to where you can have solo private practice, to where you can have single specialty groups, multi-specialty groups, and then you can even put the government all the way even off further beyond a hospital employed. That'd be your VA or your military service. When we look at trends within the orthopedic community, as with most other specialties, this is a survey of the AUCUS membership from 2011, 60% reported being in private practice. In 2017, that had decreased to 47% in private practice. Similarly, we saw a decrease in the physicians who reported receiving a fee for service, 48 versus 39%. When we look over medicine overall, in the year over year between 2015 and 2016, hospital employment increased, depending on the region, between 5 and 22%. There are over 5,000 physician practices that were acquired by hospitals. When we look at it by the numbers, the gross numbers of physicians that are reporting hospital employment are increasing. So this is in thousands, so 155,000. That's not only just a gross number of new physicians, that also is a shift in the percentage of those employed. When we look at it across the regions, no region has been spared from this transition. It tends to be higher in the Midwest and then less so in the West and in Hawaii and Alaska. This is from the most recent Becker's ASC review reporting that 70% of physicians are now employed by hospitals or corporations. There has been a significant increase in the last 12 months, even more so in the last 6 months, likely people looking for security in the COVID era. So in physicians that are seeking employment, I think this really falls into two categories. There are new graduates who are just coming out of their residency or fellowship training. And then there are those who are already in established practices who are then being either acquired by a hospital or looking for a practice change, looking for some type of security or looking for a way to head towards retirement. So drawbacks, we'll start with the downsides of being employed by the hospital. So all the ancillaries that we were just talking about, surgery centers, therapy, MRI, things like that, I don't get that money trickling in from the sky anymore. Certainly working for a large corporation, I forget how many surgeons we're at now. I think we're over 40 orthopedic surgeons within our group and over 700 physicians within the hospital. There's more rules to follow, and the rules tend to apply not just to the orthopedic specialty, they tend to apply across the board to nursing staff, custodial staff, et cetera. And then there's a lot of corporate red tape. If you want to change something, it's definitely more difficult. We are not lean and nimble by any stretch of the imagination, so changing things is a bit more difficult. So why do I prefer employment? So I have a guaranteed income stream. So every 2 weeks I get a paycheck. That paycheck is roughly the same 26 times a year. It's going to get deposited in my account. I don't think that has been more evident than in the current COVID crisis. Everybody knows this has changed everything in the way that we do things. This is an article from August, Vanderbilt shutting down elective surgeries. When this happened, did it affect us? Yes. Does it still affect us? Yes. Did I still get my paycheck that was the same amount? Yes. So it really does change the way that we look at the world. Also, we didn't have to worry about the Paycheck Protection Program and how those reimbursements go and how to get those waived and all the complexities that went into that, as well as our staff taking concerns of furloughing staff and their families that they have to provide for. That's not my problem, that's my employer's problem. So from a tax standpoint, I get a W-2. So when it comes time to file for my IRS, I send my W-2 off to my tax person. A day later, they've got it back to me. We're done. It's clean. It's easy. I don't have to worry about it. From a facility standpoint, this is our building. This is our air conditioning on top of the building. Let's say that air conditioning burns up one day. That's Carillion's problem. That's not my problem. I'll be hot and sweaty while we're working with no air conditioning, but I don't have to worry about reaching into my retirement to buy a new air conditioner to put on top of the building. Benefits. I get benefits. I get a 401k. I get a pension. We have educational stipends that come from our facility. We have health insurance, health club memberships, cell phone discounts, all the benefits that you normally get with working with any large corporation, and paid days off. From a staffing standpoint, HR, we don't have to worry about hiring, firing, disciplinary actions, anything along those lines. We can be either as involved or uninvolved as we choose to. Christmas party picture a few years ago, let's say the soup was bad at the Christmas party and we get a bunch of staff that goes out sick. We have resource pools that we can pull from. Our office doesn't have to shut down. We can pull staffing from other areas within the system. From educational opportunities, being affiliated with Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, most of us have an appointment there. We also have multiple other Wake Forest, Radford, et cetera, that we partner with. Those are not things that we have to go out and seek and develop on our own. Those are pre-established and built into the system and expected of us already. From a cross-coverage standpoint, this is me a couple of years ago. I still ski more aggressively than I probably ought to. Not that jump, but that same jump a week later, I tore my ACL. Joe got mad at me. Thought I shouldn't be doing that. And I had my ACL reconstructed by one of my partners. During that time when I was out, I didn't have to worry about my patients not having follow-up, having to rely on one or two other partners. We have a staff of 7 orthopedic surgeons that work on our joint service. They can easily fill in. From a competition standpoint, we are not competing against each other. We work as a team. We have a very large group, as I mentioned before. If we all have our own interest in specialties and we pass patients back and forth based on OR availability, complexity of case, preference of surgeons, desire of patients, et cetera. So I really think that this type of environment does decrease the competition. In conclusion, my advice to y'all is basically, despite the drawbacks of hospital employment, there's a lack of ancillary income. If you change things over, if you establish a comfortable base salary, you really don't have to worry about that lack of ancillary income. If you insert yourself into the organization, you can be either as involved or uninvolved as you want. We certainly have providers within our group that all they want to do is operate, and I think that that's representative of a lot of the Gen X and Gen Y millennial surgeons, is that we did all of this to operate. We spent all this time in medical school and residency to operate. You can just go and operate. You really don't have to insert yourself if you don't want to. And by doing that, that can allow you to change the culture and cut some of the red tape and potentially improve things, not just for yourself, but for your patients, your practice, and the system overall, because sometimes it is turning the Titanic and going from there. So with that, thank you.